Okay, traction control 1 and traction control 2. Let's do this so we can explain it and maybe, cut it and showcase to the people in too long didn't watch video. So, okay, how some cars have traction control 1 and traction control 2. Okay. Now, cars that have just traction control 1 doesn't mean that they don't do the same thing, but it is built in, what I'm about to explain, into traction control 1. So each level of traction control 1 has different things happening. Okay. Now, traction control 2 and 1. So some cars, starting with the Ferrari, that was the first car that made this, has those two traction controls. So what they do? Well, the first thing they do is traction control 1 dictates when the traction control will engage to control the power of the engine. Okay? So, for example, listen to the sound. Okay? So, with traction control low, like traction control 1 low, we go into the turn, we go to the accelerator and oversteer like this. Okay? Why? Because traction control 1 level low, it lets the rear tire spin before engage. Okay, so again, oversteer like this. Okay, now if I raise a lot the traction control 1 to something like 11, so full, you will hear the engine cutting a lot, like tack, 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 like rag, 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 rag. So let's do that. So I will go into oversteer, full acceleration. Listen. Okay, let's try to slower gear and turn. And of course, the car doesn't accelerate. You don't have any wheel spin. You don't have oversteer. But listen to that. Okay, listen again. And you can also watch the rev limiter that goes like that because it cuts. Okay, the engine cuts the whole ignition to try to limit the power on the wheels. Look at that, even in first gear, and the car doesn't accelerate. Okay, so traction control 1 is when the traction control will engage and cut the power. So depending on how much the tires are spinning, the traction control will decide to engage sooner, so when, or later. Okay, so it will either let the wheel spin a lot or not at all. That's traction control 1. So traction control 1 tries to understand when to engage. Now traction control 2 is a little bit different. It follows traction control 1. So at some point traction control 1 says, okay, engage. This is the time, this is the when, engage. Okay. Traction control 2 says, okay, I'm engaging, but by how much I will limit the power. So lower level of traction control 2 means that I will engage, but I will let some power to go through the wheels anyway and permit some spinning. While traction control 2 higher level, it means that I will engage more. So traction control 1 is when the traction control will engage. Traction control 2 is how much the traction control will engage. And the two things are separate like that. So let's hear what traction control 2 does. So let's put traction control 1 to a low level, like 2, okay, and raise the traction control 2. Oops, sorry, that was the ABS. And raise the traction control 2 to something like 5. Okay? Right. So we know that with traction control 1, normally, traction control 1 at level 1, we have lots of power oversteer. But now we have traction control 1 at level 1 and traction control 2 at level 5. Okay, let's see. Listen to the engine. As you can see, I don't have any oversteer, but the engine doesn't really cut. Okay, some cut now, some oversteer now, but listen again and watch. You see how smooth the oversteer was? Let's try this again. Look how smooth oversteer we have. Again, once more. We even have some understeer, you see? Now, why is that? Because right now, traction control 1 says, okay, let's wait a bit that the car starts to slide. And then traction control says, okay, it's sliding, but I will cut power a lot, okay, because I'm at level 5. So it cuts the power, but doesn't cut it with the ignition. It's like, you know, it takes the advance of the engine back. And so it's like the engine has less power. It doesn't cut cylinders, but it has less power. Now, let's put traction control 2 at something lower, like 1, okay? And let's put the traction control 1 at 3 and see. I don't know if you already see what happened here. And again here. So what happens now is that traction control 1 says, oh, wait a minute, we have slide. Let's start cutting, okay, sooner because we are at level 3. But traction control 2 says, okay, we start cut, but I will cut just a little bit, not too much, as little as I can. So we still have some, you see, we still have some extra slippage. Look at that. You see, it's very smooth. You see, look at that. It rotates alone. So this is what happens. Traction control 1 decides when the traction control will engage. Traction control 2 decides how much the traction control will engage. Okay? So this is how it works. Now, as I said, in cars that have just one level of traction, that they have just traction control 1, okay, it still happens the same thing. But the two things are already implemented in each level that you move around. Okay, so you put the traction control 1 at level 2, it, you know, has different values inside level 2 to have both things at the same time. Obviously, when you have two traction controls, you have the driver has, you know, more possibilities to tune the car around and the behavior, and that obviously changes the things. Last thing I want to tell you is that it's always a good way to use the two traction controls at similar levels. So let's say you use traction control 1 at level 3, traction control 2 at level 3. If you want something different, take the traction control 2 and move it by one click up or one click down. Don't create situations, extreme situations like we had before, like, you know, traction control 1 at 1 and traction control 2 at 5. This creates confusion. You won't understand exactly what's happening. It's not so good. Also, real life, they always, you know, advise you go together, you know, same levels to both traction control, and then play one click up, one click down between them. Not at maximum 2 clicks, but not much more than that. Okay, so that's it.